Okay, hi, good morning, everyone. I'm again your teacher for today, Teacher Shelly. So, it is an absolute pleasure to welcome you all to the opening of our Maritime English course. I want to take a brief moment to extend our deepest gratitude to our Gimyang Shipping Seafarers Union. Okay? Welcome. And without their vision, unwavering support, and dedication to the professional growth of our crew, this program would not be possible. Since the union has always championed the welfare of our seafarers, and by investing in this course, they are really directly investing to your or in your safety. Not just the safety, of course, your careers, no? And your future success at sea. And as we all know, I kept on repeating that a clear communication is the ultimate lifeline of any vessel, right? And English is the global language of the entire maritime industry. And mastering it isn't just about passing the tests. All right? So it's all about ensuring a seamless teamwork, precise operations, and above all, the safety of everyone on board. And so to all our participants, you, everyone, the crew, some are officers, I encourage you to make the most of this incredible opportunity. Okay? Yeah, you engage and then you support one another over the coming weeks of our lesson. Okay? And once again, a massive thank you to the Gimyang Shipping Seafarers Union for, of course, making all this happen. Okay? And thank you all. And let's have a fantastic and productive course. And so, as we begin, welcome to our Maritime English lesson for our week 77th, day 1. Okay? So, now as we begin with our lesson, I will just leave a question. Okay. Why maritime English matter during fire or yes, during fire on board? Okay. So, since sometimes we have a national crew on board, that's why maritime English is important. Okay? Now, this is the standard language used on board. Alright? Because English is the IMO standard language. Alright? Now, it prevents misunderstanding between multinational crew on board. Okay? So, this is our common language used. The English language. Alright? Now, so let's continue with our lesson. Okay. So, we have fire clauses and fire emergency communication. Okay. The part 1 is the fundamental of fire clauses and fire emergency communication. Okay, so we will discuss this one by one about the fire clauses and how we are going to communicate if there's fire on board. Okay? Now, for our part 1 is all about the introduction to fire clauses. Okay? Introduction. So, we will learn all about fire clauses. How are we going to understand about it? Okay, that's our one objective. How are we going to understand fire clauses? Second is we need to learn their importance. Why fire clauses is important? We have to learn. Okay? Aside from the introduction, you have to learn. And then, we have to know or identify what are the emergency phrases or words used. Okay? And then, we also have to apply. How are we going to apply a proper communication? Like, communicate to the rescuer. How are we going to deliver the phrases? Okay, how are we going to announce that there's fire on board? Okay, those are the things we have to learn in this lesson. Okay, now, as I said, we have the introduction to fire clauses. We need to learn also a bit of the history of the fire safety at sea. Alright? And then the fire triangle. Okay? What are the components of this? And the fire classes. Of course, there are. No? And then the fire emergency vocabulary or the words. Okay? The common words used. And the basic fire communication. And of course, the last part is the question and answer. So let's start with the introduction of fire clauses. Okay. Now, we need to know what is fire. This is very common. Even if we are not on board, if we are in our own home, or if you are traveling, this is very common that we cannot prevent, or yes, we can prevent it, but we cannot avoid, I think, no? Because fire is, there are different reasons why there is a fire. Now, first, we have to know what is the meaning of fire. Okay. Now, fire is an uncontrolled combustion. Okay? Producing heat, smoke, and flames. Okay? When we say combustion, this is a scientific word for burning, or the common word for combustion is burning. Okay? Now, this combustion or burning is a chemical reaction. Okay? Chemical reaction where a substance, no, reacts quickly with oxygen, and in the process, it gives off a lot of heat and light. Okay? Now, to make this combustion or burning, okay, you always have to have three things, often called the fire triangle. Okay? First one is you have to have fuel in order to have fire. Okay? Now, fuel is something that you are going to burn like the wood, a paper, a gasoline, or a wax. Okay? That's what fuel means. Something to burn. Another one, in order to create a fire, there should be oxygen. Alright? Without oxygen, there will be no fire. Okay? When we say oxygen, it is usually from the air. Okay? Air, the normal air. The air that we breathe. Alright? That's the oxygen. Now, without oxygen, there will be no fire. There will be no combustion or burning. And another is the heat. Excuse me, the heat. Okay? Heat is an ignition source. Okay? To get fire started. For example, like a match, no? Or a spark. Like your lighter while smoking, right? There is a heat on it. So, that is the ignition source to get fire started. So, this fire triangle, alright, is important if they are mixed together. But if there's one that is lacking or not present, there will be no fire. Okay? So, it is important that this fire triangle, that's why it's called triangle, because it comprises of three, okay, things: the fuel, the oxygen, and the heat. Okay? If there's one lacking with the fuel, oxygen, and the heat, there will be no fire. Alright? Always remember that, okay, everyone? So, again, fire is an uncontrolled combustion or burning, producing heat, which is the ignition source to get the fire started. Example, your lighter or the match or any spark. If there is smoke, okay, if there is smoke, like the oxygen from the air, and the flames, which is the fuel, that is something that you will burn, like the paper, the wood, the gasoline, or the wax. Okay? Now, when we say wax, our everyday example, okay, let's apply it to our everyday life. Like the burning candle. Okay, the burning candle. That is the fuel. Okay, that is the fuel. When it reacts with the oxygen in the air, it creates flame. Right? Alright. Now, another example, who is fond here of camping? Okay, I'm sure everyone's doing that. So, a campfire. The wood, if combines with the oxygen, okay, it produces heat and light. Right? Okay. Now, another example to our everyday life, no? We have a car engine. I'm sure everyone here uses a car, no? And going to the office, going to the mall, or everywhere, going to a camping, no? A car engine. Okay. The gasoline, okay, which serves as our fuel, gasoline combusts now inside the engine, right? Now, it creates or to create energy that moves the car. Okay? So, once there will be an overheating of the car engine, it creates fire, overheating. So, the three examples I gave you is our everyday thing, no? That could happen. A burning candle, a campfire, and then a car engine. So those are all examples once they or it reacts to the oxygen, heat, and fuel. It now creates fire. Alright? So, did everyone understand the explanation about fire? Why there is a fire? Okay. So, another. What are fire clauses? Okay. So, when we say fire clauses, this is a standardized emergency statements and also a communication phrases or words, no, that is used during fire emergencies on board. So that is the meaning of fire clauses, a standardized emergency statements, and of course, a communication phrases or group of words that is used during fire emergencies on board. Alright? Okay. So let's go to the purpose of fire clauses. First is it save lives. Of course, if you're on board, there are crew, right? So if there is a fire on board, okay, that's one of the purpose of fire clauses or group of words or phrases used during emergency. It save lives. Okay? Another purpose of that excuse me, is to prevent panic. Alright, this is very important. Even though there is a fire, okay, we have to be calm. You have to practice that. You have to be calm to prevent panic. Okay? Another purpose of fire clauses is we can coordinate right away to the firefighting team. Okay? We can right away report. We can right away inform the firefighting team that there is a fire on board. Okay? Another purpose is, of course, we can protect the vessel itself. Okay, we can protect the vessel itself. And lastly, aside from the vessel, we can protect the cargo. But on top of all those purposes of fire clauses, it saved lives. It saved the lives of the crew on board. If you are into a passenger, you save the lives of the passengers. Okay? So, fire clauses or the standardized words, those are very important. Okay? To protect the cargo, to protect the vessel, to inform or coordinate or communicate with the firefighting team, to prevent panic, and on top of it, it saves lives. Okay? Those are the purposes of fire clauses. Okay. These are the examples of fire clauses. Fire in main deck. This is one. Another example, smoke detected. As you can see here, this is the smoke detector. There's a red light here, and it emits smoke, meaning it detects a smoke. That's why the red light is here, is on. Another example of fire clauses is a boundary cooling required here. Okay? Whenever there is a fire on the other side, you have to cool this down, this part. Okay? You have to cool it down. Another, there's a fire in engine room. Okay? There's a fire here. And fire extinguished. This one, to put out the fire. Since this is your cargo. Okay? These are all on examples of fire clauses. Again, what is a fire clauses? This is a standardized words or phrases that are used during emergencies. Alright? You can hear fire in main deck, smoke detected, boundary cooling required, fire in engine room, and fire extinguished. Okay? Those are the examples. Alright. Now, there are persons that are responsible to only use fire clauses. Who are they? Okay, number one is the master. Okay? The overall command and responsibility of the vessel and the crew and the cargo. He makes the final decisions in emergencies or during emergencies. He ensures the safety of the vessel, the crew, and the cargo. Okay? Now, it liaises with shore authorities also. Okay? Master or the captain. Next to the master is the chief engineer. Okay? Now, the chief officer, not the chief engineer. Okay. The chief officer or the chief mate as they are also called, he is the overall command of the cargo operations. Okay? Now, once he sees that there is fire with the cargoes, he will right away report it to the master that there is a fire in the cargo area. So, that is the responsibility of the chief officer. He is also responsible for the deck department. And he implements safety procedures. And during emergencies, he will assist the master. Okay? So that is the responsibility of the chief officer. He is responsible, or he is the overall command, or not command, overall in charge of the cargo operations. Okay? And also, the chief engineer. Now, if the master or the chief officer is the overall in charge of the cargo operations, chief engineer is the overall in charge of the engine department. Right? Now, he ensures that the machinery and the systems are operational. He implements safety procedures in the engine room. And also, like the chief officer, he will assist the master in emergencies. Okay? So, they all have their own responsibilities, right? And then, also, the duty officer and the fire party. Okay. The duty officer is responsible for navigation watch, or what they call the second officer also, or the third officer. Now, he monitors the vessel's position and the safe navigation. Okay? Now, once he sees something wrong on board or there is fire, he will right away report it to the master. Okay? And the duty officer or the second officer maintains communication. And he responds, of course, to emergencies. And then another is the fire party. Yes, so they are the ones responsible to fire and smoke emergencies. Once the master commands that there is fire on that specific area of the vessel, this fire team or the fire party responds to that right away. And of course, they will use firefighting equipment with all the PPEs, right? Using their PPEs, and then it controls, or they controls and extinguishes the fire. Okay? So, basically, this fire party or this fire team are the ones responsible, okay, or are the ones responsible in assisting the boundary cooling and the search and rescue operations. Alright? So, all of them, from the master to the chief engineer, to the chief officer, and to the duty officer and the fire party team, they are the ones who uses the fire clauses. Alright? So they are the people responsible. Alright. So, these locations are the common where fire is located. First is the engine room. They are the very common fire locations. Next is the kitchen or the galley. Of course, we do the cooking here, right? So, every day, 3 or 4 times a day, there is a what do you call this? The fire triangle are present in this area. There is a fuel, there is a heat, there is oxygen. Now, if you will not handle it properly, it will create fire. Okay? So, it's very common in this area. And in your accommodation. Okay? Some, of course, are smoking inside the cabin. Right? And it is an enclosed area. And since there is an enclosed oxygen in this area, and there is heat coming from the cigarette, right? And then the cigarette itself is the fuel. There's a big possibility that it will create fire. Okay? That's why as much as possible, if you're going to smoke, it's outside your accommodation. It should be. Okay? Another is the cargo hold. This is very also common in the cargo hold area. Again, it's an enclosed area. Okay? There's a oxygen. Okay? Some of the cargos may be made of wood or something to burn or that burns easily, or paper or wax or anything that burns easily. And what if it's very hot outside? So there's heat. So it's very common if the oxygen, the fuel, and the heat are mixed together, there's a big possibility in this area that there will be fire or it will create fire. Okay? And lastly, the common fire location is the electrical room. Basically, there's heat. It's an enclosed area and there are fuel, maybe because of the wires, no? So, since it is an electrical room, there's a big possibility that the 3 or the fire triangle is present in this area. So, fire is possible. So, all of these are the common fire locations. The engine room, the galley, your accommodation or cabins, the cargo hold, and the electrical room. Okay, we have to have safety procedures here. Okay? Because those are the common fire locations. Okay. So we kept on discussing about fire. But what is the history of it at sea? Or safety at sea? Fire at sea, I'm sorry. Okay. Before, okay, since fire has been one of the most dangerous hazards at sea, okay, because it can rapidly, spread, especially in confined spaces like I mentioned, the cargo hold, the engine room, the galley, your cabins, and then the electrical room. Since those are all confined spaces, it is really difficult to control. So, that is one of the most dangerous hazards at sea because it can rapidly spread. Okay? Now, during early ships, before, they just purely relied on basic firefighting methods, such as the buckets of water, the manual pumps, but major maritime disasters, led to the development of a stricter fire safety regulations. There are different trainings, Now, they now improve the ship design, and also their firefighting equipments. Of course, we are now in a modern life, or modern period. So they now have the chance to develop a stricter training, the different fire safety regulations, and of course nowadays the firefighting equipment are very updated nowadays, so unlike before, they only use the buckets of water, they manually pump the water, But today, there are now international standards, and before you go on board, there are regular crew training, and once you are on board, you do the firefighting drill, right? So it really improves the knowledge of the crew, and it ensure a faster and more effective emergency response of the crew, so basically that's one way of improving, since we are now in a modern world. Okay, now yes, here as you can see here, before, in early 19th century, this is the image of a vessel, in ancient times. So most ships here are constructed entirely of wood, right? So since wood is highly flammable, so even just for a small spark, it could quickly ignite the vessel, and it quickly spread throughout the ship, so often leading to destruction of the whole vessel, so they uses open flames before, they uses oil lamps, and they uses this one, the cooking, while they cooking, this is the cooking fires. Those are the very old type of of equipments. So as compare nowadays, you cannot see this type of vessel, no? Because these are old versions of type of vessels. Okay? And then we have from this era, we have it improves to a steamship era. Right? So this is the period when ships were powered by steam engines, no? Instead of sails. So this is during the best example for this is the Titanic, no? So they uses boilers before, they uses like this, engine hazards, and then they uses a coal fires. That was before, of course. This was during steam ship era. Okay? So that's during steamship era. And also, we are now in our modern ship era. Okay. So, the system is already sophisticated, no? The electrical system it looks like this nowadays. The machinery spaces and their fuel system, no? So, this is now the advanced vessels equipped with automated systems already. They are now sophisticated. They have the sophisticated machineries and the protection fire technologies here. So today's ships, they are built now with improved fire-resistant materials. No, they can detect right away on how to suppress the systems. Like for example, there's fire. Okay, they uses electrical equipment. No, the fuel systems. Okay, so the complex machineries also creates new fires, even though they are highly sophisticated. If the crew will not maintain it regularly, and of course with the help of the regular training of the crew. Since we are now in a modern ship era, we have to have an updated regular crew training also on how to use this equipment or these systems, right? So we have to have a regular crew training, and so through that training, you can now apply the things you learned in order to maintain a strict compliance of all these systems in modern ship era. Okay? Since it's sophisticated, we have to have an additional knowledge on how to use all of this. Okay? Next. What are the major causes of ship fires? Okay. We have electrical faults. Another, we have fuel leakage. See, there's a leakage here. Another, of course, human error. This is what I mentioned earlier, that you will have a regular training on how to use this one in order to prevent human error. Another, hot work. This is a major cause of ship fire. Hot work. And then, smoking. Major cause of ship fire. The smoking of the crew. Okay, you should go to the smoking area only. Please do not do this inside your accommodation or the cabin area. Okay, these are the examples of famous fire incidents. The Scandinavian Star, which happens last 1990. Okay, this is a fire tragedy that claimed the lives of 159 people. Okay? Another is the Norman Atlantic. This is a ro-ro vessel which happened last 2014. Okay? This was during severe winter storms and the refrigeration malfunctioned. So, since it's a ro-ro, all the 443 passengers were trapped inside and around 56 crew on board. And it resulted to the deaths of, I think, 31 people. Another is the Yarmouth Castle. Well, this happened long time ago, 1965. Okay? This is a cruise ship that claimed the lives of 90 people. Okay? And then, yeah, that's it. Those are the famous fire that was recorded, no? Fire incidents. Now, what do we have learned in this, no? So, better communication, better drills, we have to have a better training. We have to all have this. Better communication, you have to have the better drills and better training. So, okay. What is the role of IMO, which is the International Maritime Organization? Let's go here. Let's go in here. This IMO, okay, they are the ones who developed maritime English. Okay? They are the specialized UN agency, which is responsible for the safety, the security, and the environmental performance of global shipping. Okay? Now, its core role is to establish a standardized or a universal level playing field regulatory framework so that the operators cannot cut corners on the safety, okay, or the environmental standards just to save money. Okay? So, IMO is the ones responsible to that. The International Maritime Organization. Okay? Without them, maybe there will be a difficulty, no? Especially in a multinational crew on board. Okay? So, it says here, introduced fire safety standard. Okay. This fire safety standard refers to a fire risk. Okay? That isn't part of the ship's permanent structure or a standard operating equipment. Okay? But instead, brought on board by the crew, the contractors, or the passengers. Now, because these hazards are just temporary or unexpected, like the fire, they are incredibly dangerous if not monitored. Yes, it's correct. That's why crew must have a proper training on all about fire. Okay, that's why we have an advanced firefighting training before we go on board. Right? And it should be updated always. Every 3 to 5 years, that specific training. And to continuously learn about firefighting, that's why the crew conducts emergency fire training drill on board. Okay? Now, here, understanding SOLAS fire regulations. We have fire containment and insulation. We have fixed fire extinguished systems. We have fire detection and alarms. We have fire escape routes and LSA. Life-saving. Okay? And then, the safe fighting appliances. And we have the crew training and drills. So, all of this, we have to learn for the safety of life at sea. First is to prevent fire. Okay? And then, secondly, we have to learn how to detect, or we have to contain and extinguish, and make sure that safe evacuation for everybody, or for all. So, mandatory training and preparedness of the crew is very important. Okay? Alright. Yes, this is now what I mentioned earlier, the fire triangle and the classes of fire. Okay, fire triangle explains the 3 essential elements required for a fire to start and continue burning. Okay? As explained earlier, the 3 components or the 3 essential elements. These are the fuel, the oxygen, and the heat in order to have fire. Okay? And to continue burning. Okay, here. The heat. The ignition source to get fire started. It could be coming from the faulty wirings or any hot surfaces like in the galley, from the sparks or coming from the engine room, the friction, the welding, okay, operation, or open flames. Now, without heat, of course, fuel cannot ignite, right? So, firefighters often use only water to cool down the burning material. And in order to remove the heat, to put out the fire. Okay? Another component of fire is the fuel. This is something that you will burn. Okay. Like on ships, the common fuels include the diesel oil, the lubricating oil, okay, the cargo itself. If you are a wood carrier vessel, the wood itself, the paper, the paint, the plastics, and other flammable materials. Those are the fuel that, or there is something to burn. Now, removing or isolating the fuel, it prevents now from continuing to burn. So if this is absent, if you were able to remove or if you were able to isolate the fuel, you can now prevent fire from continuing to burn. Okay? Another is the oxygen, the O2, the air, usually from air. So, air contains about 21% of oxygen. Okay, the oxygen that we breathe. Okay, this one is sufficient, that around 20% of oxygen is sufficient to sustain most of the fire. But less than 20%, it will not, it won't. Okay, now, that's why firefighting or firefighters reduces or removed oxygen by using carbon dioxide foam or the CO2 foam, or by closing the ventilation openings, okay, to smother the fire. Okay? So, if the fire is 50% of the area, oh, imagine how big the fire will be if this heat and fuel and oxygen is present. But if 20% below of the oxygen is present in the area, okay, it will be, the fire will be lessened. Okay? Or maybe you can put out the fire right away if there's less oxygen in the location or in the area. So you will use CO2 foam for this to put out the fire or remove the oxygen, okay, in the specific area. Alright? So heat, fuel, and oxygen. Fire triangle component. If one of these is absent, there will be no fire. Alright? Okay, we have classes of fire. The first one is the class A. The sources of this, common example is the paper, the cloth that we are wearing, the wood. Those are the ordinary combustibles. So that is the class A of fire. So the recommended for this fire extinguisher is you just use water to put out the fire, or use a foam or the ABC powder. That's the class A. Okay? Another is the class B. The flammable liquid. Okay? These are the gas, the gasoline, the oil, okay, the diesel, kerosene. So the recommended for this fire extinguisher is the foam, the CO2 foam, or the BC or ABC powder. Okay? That's a class B. Flammable liquid. Okay? Another is the class C. The common source of this are the electrical faulty wirings, like the kitchen equipments, like your laptops, your computers, the microwaves, the oven, the refrigerator, your fridge, okay? Those are the class C, the electrical faulty wirings. So the recommended fire extinguisher for this is do not use a non-corrosive or non-conducive agents like the CO2 or dry chemical. All you have to do is to turn off right away the plugs, the powers of this, because this is electrical. So basically, you have to turn off right away the source of the power source. Okay, so that is the class C. Okay, and the class D is the combustible metals. The common of this is the magnesium, the sodium, okay? All these metals. So, the recommended fire extinguisher for this is the dry powder. Okay? And then, that is the class D. And then, lastly, the class K. Okay. The sources of this is the cooking oil, the fats, no? In the deep fryer, no? So it also creates fire if there's overheating of all this. Okay? Now, the fire extinguisher that you will use here is the recommended is the wet chemical and then the fire blanket. Okay? So, those are the classes of fire. Class A, B, C, D, and K. Okay? Next, we have fire emergency vocabularies. Okay. So, these are the common words that you will hear, no, during emergencies on board. We have fire alarm. This is the warning signal indicating that a fire has been detected. You can pull this down, pull this down right away. If you were able to detect a fire on board. And then the word fire, as I said, this is the uncontrolled combustion or burning, okay, that can cause damage, injury, or loss of life. Yes. And then the word smoke. Yes, this is a visible, like this, gases and particles that is produced by burning materials. This is the smoke, no? That's this one. The smoke coming from your cigarettes. Okay? Those are the first three common fire vocabularies. Another is the word evacuate. Okay. Evacuate the building, the place. Okay? That's the you have to right away or immediately exit. A safe exit. You go directly to the fire exit. That's the word evacuate. You or simply by saying stay away from the fire. You evacuate. And then we have also the muster station. Muster station, this is the assembly area. Okay? Muster station. So, or basically, this is your meeting place. If there is an emergency situation on board. And then the fire party, the team, no? The team that are in charge. Okay? During emergencies or during fire emergencies. Now, this team are highly trained. Okay? They are highly trained and they are the crew members that are responsible to put out the fire. Okay? Alright, and then we have fire main. This is the system, okay, that is dedicated from the water, seawater piping, okay, network that is used primarily as a firefighting medium. This one, the fire main, okay. Now, this one, it draws water from the sea, okay, and it is distributed it draws water from the sea and it is distributed by a high pressure to the hydrants and then to the hoses and then through our sprinkler systems, okay, across the vessels. Okay, so this is what we call the main fire hydrant or the fire main. Okay, and then of course the fire extinguisher. Those are the common fire vocabularies, the fire extinguishers. So all of this, the water, the dry powder, the foam, and the CO2, these are all present, okay? No? Fire extinguishers inside the ship. Okay, these are the most common marine types of fire extinguishers. We have dry chemical, powder, the foam, CO2, the water, and we also have the fire blanket. Okay? So, the basic fire communication. Okay. Basic fire communication. This is how we are going to deliver. Okay? Deliver the phrases during fire. So, basically, the first thing that you will do is to raise the alarm or sound the alarm. Okay? And then, by shouting fire, 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 to ensure an immediate awareness of all the crew on board. You are alerting everyone on the ship that there's an emergency or fire emergency happening. Okay? And then another is you will inform right away the bridge. Okay? You will inform right away the bridge. And then another, you start or you state exactly where the fire is located. Like for example, if it is in the engine room, if it is in the galley, if it is in the cargo hold, in your accommodation, or whether it is in the electrical room, you mentioned it right away. You state it exactly where the fire is. Okay? Using the precise shipboard terms. And then you describe how big, how small. If it is a medium fire, you have to describe it right away. Okay? So that a proper fire extinguisher will be used, okay, if it's in the galley, if it is in the cargo hold, whether if it is in the engine room or electrical room, whether if it is in your cabin, no? So that a proper fire extinguisher will be used. And then, lastly, is to confirm, okay? You confirm the orders and you have to listen with the instructions. Alright? So, those are the things on how you are going to deliver if there is a fire on board. So, like for example, okay, it will goes like this. Bridge, fire team leader, boundary cooling line, engine room lower left, aft. Okay, you are now giving or you are confirming orders already. And the fire team will right away answer boundary cooling line, engine room, lower level aft received. Okay? So, you are now confirming. You are now giving instructions. So, the sample of this is bridge. This is able seaman. We have fire. Excuse me. Okay, again. I'm sorry. Okay, bridge, this is able seaman, we have fire. And then the other line will answer received. Go ahead with the location and size. And then the ones reporting engine room, lower left, lower level, aft side, port side, it's a small oil fire. So the recipient of the call will answer understood. Fire in engine room, lower level oil fire. Fire team is mobilizing. Await further instructions. So, this is how you are going to deliver your information. Okay? So, you have to be precise. You have to mention also the location, how big, how small the fire is, and the location. Alright? Okay, so those are the lessons we have discussed about fire. Excuse me. Let's now go to our questions and answer. Okay, so here, yes, basically, are you still there? From the Gumiang Shipping Seafarers Union. Okay, so question number 1, what is fire? Alright, is it A, B, C, or D? Okay, this is very easy. What is fire? Okay, of course, the correct answer is letter B. An uncontrolled combustion or burning, producing heat, smoke, and flames. Okay, that is fire meant. Okay? Now, what is the main purpose of fire clauses on board a ship? What is the main purpose? Is it A, B, C, or D? Okay. Of course, it's letter C. To standardize the emergency communication during fire incidents. That is the main purpose of fire clauses. Right? Fire clauses are the standardized emergency communication or the words during fire incidents. Now, for number 3, why is maritime English important during fire emergencies? Okay, why is it important? I mentioned that earlier, right? So, why do you think maritime English? Why are we learning maritime English? Why do you have to discuss about maritime English during fire emergencies? It's all because English is the IMO standard language and helps prevent misunderstandings. Actually, letter B is also correct to avoid miscommunication during emergencies. This one is also correct. But since it states that English is the IMO standard language and helps prevent misunderstandings or miscommunications during emergencies, is also correct. Okay? Next, for number 4, which of the following is a common fire location on board a ship? Alright, what area is the common fire location on board the ship? Is it swimming pool, engine room, marinas, docks, and fueling facilities, or the passenger lounge only? So, what specific common fire location? It's letter. Yes, it's the engine room, right? Engine room, electrical room, accommodation, the galley, right? Cargo holds. Those are the common fire location on board the ship. And then number 5, which of the following was a common fire hazard on early wooden ships? Excuse me. So which of the following common fire hazard? On early wooden ships, it's the oil lamps. Because during wooden ships, there's still no solar panels. There's no radar systems yet. There's no nuclear reactors that time. They only uses oil lamps. That's why they are prone to fire. And it's a hazardous. It's so dangerous because the ship is made of wood, right? It could easily attracts fire. Okay? Now, which situation is most likely to cause an engine room fire on a modern ship? So, which one to cause engine room fire? It's fuel leaking onto a hot engine surface. It's really correct. There's a fuel leakage. And once it touches the hot surface area of the engine, it could possibly cause an engine room fire. Okay? So next is for number 7. According to SOLAS Chapter 2-1, the primary objective of fire regulations is to A, B, C, or D. It's letter D. It prevents fires, detect them early, contain their spread, and extinguish them safely. That is the Safety of Life at Sea Chapter 2-1 primary objective of fire safety regulations. Okay? You prevent fire. Okay? You prevent fire, it detects them early, contain their spread, and then extinguish them properly. Okay, for number 8, we are now down to number 8. A crew member reports smoke detected in the electrical room. Okay? Now, boundary cooling required. What does this indicate? Okay? If the crew will report that there's a smoke detected in the electrical room, and then boundary cooling required. So what do you think does it mean? Okay, it's letter B. He is informing that there's a smoke detected in the electrical room. And then he is also informing that you have to have a boundary cooling needed, required. So nearby compartments should be cooled to prevent the fire from spreading. So that is his recommendation, right? And it's correct. You have to cool down the boundary between the electrical room and on the other side of the room. You have to cool it down to prevent the fire from spreading. Okay? So, question number 9. Which of the following fire classes is correctly matched with its appropriate extinguishing method? Is it A, B, C, or D? So, which one has a correct, partner? Let's say for class A, A, B, C, or D. It's class F. Class F is the wet chemical extinguisher. Okay? So, next, for number 10, which is our last question, what should a crew member do? What should the crew member do first after discovering a fire on board? Okay, so what will you do? What are you going to do once you discover there's a fire on board? You will? Yes, you raise the alarm right away and then report to the bridge of the fire location. You will not continue working. Okay? You will not call the ship command center using your VHF radio. You will not wait for someone else to report it. Okay, what are you going to do first? Once you discover that there's a fire on board is to raise the alarm and then report the fire location right away to the bridge. Alright? So, okay. So, our lesson end here. Okay? Now, hope everyone learned something, okay, from me for our lesson. And I would like to say thank you, everyone. Okay? As we wrap up today's session, marking the first day of our 77th week in this Maritime English course, I really want to take a moment to express my sincere appreciation. Okay? A special and heartfelt thank you, of course, goes to the Gumiang Shipping Seafarers Union for joining us or me and listening in my lesson for today. So, of course, your presence really means a great deal on both the instructional team and for the crew, of course, right? And it serves a powerful reminder of the union's ongoing commitment to monitoring the crew and supporting them and actually investing in the professional development of our seafarers, of course, right? I'm sorry. Now, over the last 77 weeks, we have covered this an incredible amount of ground, from the complex operational terminologies to a critical safety communications like what we have discussed now. Now, seeing the union remain so closely engaged at this advanced stage of the program really inspires all of us to keep pushing, no, for excellence, right? So, to all our crew members, to our officers, thank you for your hard work and sharp focus on today's lesson, or for today's lesson. And to the Gumyang Shipping Seafarers Union, thank you once again for your time, for your leadership, and your enduring dedication to making this course a success. Okay? And have a safe and restful day, everyone. And I look forward to seeing you all again for our day 2. That's on Wednesday. Again, this is your teacher for today, Teacher Shelly. I'll see you all again on Wednesday for a more informative lesson all about fire. Okay, the fire classes and the different fire recommendations during onboard emergency procedures. Okay? Thank you, and I'll see you all again on Wednesday. Have a nice day, everyone.